Live from Toronto to the world.
Josh!
This is Josh Holiday Live. Talk that rocks.
The public needs to be informed.
Josh might surprise us.
Got an opinion? Dial 647-6YO-JOSH.
When you hear him, you're like, what?
Josh Holiday Live starts now.
Oh, yes, hello. It is Josh Holiday, he of Josh Holiday Live. We are live just after 3 on Friday, December 17th in this year, 2021. Celebrating a giant milestone for this show. Episode number 10. Can you believe it? We've come so far. Although I still don't think if you call up the show, you can say first time, long time, because essentially 10 weeks isn't a long time. We've debated on this show before what constitutes long time and at what point in a radio show callers can legitimately say first time, long time. Is it 6 months? Is it a year? We are open to your telephone calls anytime, especially now between 3 and 4 p.m., where we can take them live and we can converse. But if you're hearing the show at a different time or perhaps post-show you have some thoughts, you can always call the telephone number 647-6YO-JOSH. Which is 647-696-5674. We have a voicemail there, and if you leave something interesting, we may play it on the next show. You can also text that number, 647-6YO-JOSH, and you can either text a message or just text, and the next time we go live, taking live phone calls, you'll get a reminder text so you can jump in on the conversation. So very convenient. If you want the socials for the show, you can go to the Josh Holiday Live page at SAUGA960am.ca. We're a week away from Christmas. And it's the holiday season, not just for Christmas types, but for all kinds of people. I'm not especially religious, but it's a tradition for my small fam. I'm a single guy, only have my dog, but with my mother and my sister and that type of thing, we do celebrate the Christmas thing. I got my booster. I'm very happy to have it. I think it's very important that people get their boosters, despite what you might hear on some of the other less information, less reality-based shows you'll hear on the station before and after this particular show. I'm a major needle phobe. I do not like getting needles of any kind, but I was also really excited that I could get the booster shot. So that was much more important than my needle phobia. But I managed to get an appointment where I could go and get it lying down. And I think that's the key. I've worked out a routine now where about an hour before the appointment, I kind of suss out the flabbiest part of my bicep, put a little circle and permanent marker, get a Sharpie, draw a small circle, and then within that circle I put Emla cream, which is essentially numbing cream, and I reapply it in the hour leading up to the shot, and then I need to get the shot lying down, and distracted, I think, is the key. The first time I got the vax was at a drugstore, and I was just sitting, and I did play my music loud to try and distract me, but I did use some numbing cream, but I could feel the not just the needle go in, but I could feel the liquid go into my muscle. The second time I went out to a giant vax clinic in Brampton, and the lady that did it was a seasoned doctor, and she was amazing. We went into a little cordoned off area, lay down, and she distracted me with conversation, and I didn't even know what had happened. And she said, afterwards, just to get your blood flowing, you may want to kind of do some jumping jacks, and that helped. So this time around, I knew what I had to do, although the doctor was kind of a younger guy. Seemed like he may have been relatively new out of med school. And as I was lying there, he was he was saying, "Do you want me to count down? 3, 2." And I said, "No, please don't. That would be a bad thing, because then I'll tense up and I'll know what's coming. I would rather just chat with you and you just surprise me with it." So that's what happened. If you get the chance to get your booster shot, do it. Don't be a jerk. Get it done. I don't know if you're hearing that noise in the background. I think there's like lawn guys not far away from the studio, but we will persist nonetheless. You may hear a slight hum. So yeah, I got the booster, and yesterday I did, as happened with the second dose I got, about 36 hours after it, I did feel kind of not great, and a little bit of the chills and stuff, but worth it in a major way. And once again, Premier Ford failing the province. He's always doing things after they should have been done. He's always a little late. It takes some pressure from the experts and pressure from people to get him to do the right thing. So at least he's accelerating boosters. They should have had shots in schools for kids. Finally, he's rolling out the free rapid tests, which should have happened ages ago. Felt like the province was kind of hoarding these free tests that we got. And now they're being distributed at liquor stores, grocery stores, and there's basically a run on these things. Not good. And the Omicron variant is incredibly contagious, spreading very quickly. Some people are saying, it may have lesser effects, but there's other studies that are saying that's not necessarily the case. That may be the case if you've already had a different variant of it, but I don't think it's anything we can joke about, and it's spreading exponentially. It's way more contagious than any of the variations we've seen before, and I think especially in unvaccinated areas in the U.S., you're going to see major issues in the intensive care units, and you're going to see a lot of anti-vaxxers pay the price for their naivety/stupidity. Ford still hasn't put in mandates for healthcare workers, still hasn't mandated vaccines for educators and people working in educational institutions. So he's just not great, not doing it right. And now we're even seeing some of the hockey teams experiencing breakouts and are being having to shut down games or postpone games. The Leafs were supposed to play Calgary last night. That didn't happen because Calgary is on a break because they had a pretty big breakout. Montreal last night had a game against the Boston Bruins, and they went back to having 0 fans in the building, which seems smart because you can't go around as a leader saying, well, try and limit your gatherings, limit the number of people at gatherings, and then say, well, we're going to cut down the arena attendance to 50%. This 50% of over 18,000 is still 9,000 people in a building, mostly unmasked, If you watch the games, even people not eating, it's a free for all. And I would say every stadium event is a super spreader event. I would say as a caution, people should avoid crowded places in general. And I think I'm kind of hoping that this new variant kicks people in the butt in terms of encouraging them to get vaccinated sooner rather than later. One of the big errors that Doug Ford made not early on, but about a month ago, he said, "Well, we're probably gonna end the proof of vax program mid-January." So if there were people who were sort of on the fence or anti-vaxxers, like his daughter, she's a nut bar anti-vaxxer. Her husband got booted from the police force because he's an anti-vaxxer. Just idiots. I guess the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And so by saying, "Oh, it probably will end the vaccination proof of vaccination program in mid-January," a lot of those people said, "Well, I can deal until January, and then I can." So people who may have not gotten the vaccine because the deadline was coming up where they wouldn't have to show proof of it. Essentially, what I'm saying is he could have incentivized people by not saying there's a deadline for proof of vax. That's what I'm saying. I am flying over the holidays. I'm kind of wary. I'm going out to Alberta, a province that is making Doug Ford look good. Jason Kenney's response to the pandemic is so terrible. I will fly out there. My sister lives just outside of Calgary, and I'm supposed to fly out there around Christmas Day and then come back in the new year. But I'm wary. I mean, I'm glad I'm not doing international travel. So I think I would be much more concerned. The good thing is that Canada requires a vaccine to fly domestically. I kind of wish I think if the U.S. did that, they would certainly encourage more vaccines, but they would be doing themselves a favor in terms of getting uptake. But I think because it's so polarized there, Joe Biden is kind of in a corner in terms of mandating that, because then you'll have all these dumb anti-vaxxers come out of the woodwork screaming about liberty and freedom. I'm going to wear a N95 mask, and I'm curious to see, as this new variant spreads, whether the airlines will be serving food and drink. Because if it was within my control on a flight, it's only about 4 hours out to Calgary, I would say no food or drink, so everyone just keeps their mask on the whole time. But I don't know how that's going to work. I guess we'll see. And I've already told my sister, who lives out there, that we are not going to do any indoor activities with people. It's not time for that. There was a guy in a plane in Florida, a Florida man, if you will, who got on a plane there wearing a lady's thong over his face, trying to sort of poke fun at the mask mandates on airplanes. And of course, he got kicked off, and the airline will investigate. And I think what the airlines are doing, each specific airline, they are banning passengers for life who do cause issues. And I know that the FBI is stepping up enforcement and stepping up fines for people who are disruptive in the air, usually nut bar anti-vaxxers, anti-maskers, not the brightest of people. I think they should have, for these people, a central no-fly list. You mess around, F around, and find out, essentially. You want to fool around in the air, you want to be a jackass, you're on the no-fly list. Period. And I think that would help get rid of the nut bars. And I think actually what they could do is if they made a vaccine mandate for flying domestically in the States, those people wouldn't be getting on a plane in the first place, because it's the anti-vaxxer crowd that's causing the fuss. It is Josh Holiday Live. We are always open to hear your point of view. If you disagree, agree, you have anything to say, 647-6-YO-JOSH is the telephone number. You can text that number as well if you prefer. You can email. You go to SAUGA960 SAUGA960am SAUGA960am.ca. You'll find all the socials and all the ways to get in touch. But I prefer that you get in touch by phone. I like having a actual conversation. Oh, that's what I do. I mentioned that I'm not a fan of getting needles, and I got my booster earlier this week via needle. But now they're developing a new way of delivering the vaccine via nasal spray. Instead of getting an injection in your arm, you'll get a squirt in your nose, and hopefully that will take care of the vaccine. I've also seen where they're thinking about doing vaccines in a sort of a patch form. So it's like something you stick on your arm, and it has all kinds of like tiny little spikes on it, but tiny enough that you really wouldn't feel it. It would be like putting Velcro on your arm. And so basically, those are two options where you may, if you don't like needles, you may not want to do that. Mark from Brampton. Hello, sir.
Hi, Josh. How are you doing?
I'm excellent, sir. How are you doing?
Well, not bad. I'm usually a big fan of AM960 on my commute home, but I may have to try to find an alternate radio station after what I've been hearing from yourself about the whole vaccine and the kind of world we're living in right now.
Okay.
I totally disagree with everything you're saying, that masking myself for the purpose of what? Of a show of compliance. Because if you speak to real doctors and not paid politicians on the government, checking on the government team and the taxpayers team, you'd actually see how valuable this vaccine is. Vaccine that, when was the last time you needed to have a polio booster, Josh, or an MMR booster? Well, it's just ridiculous.
The good thing is that we haven't had to have a polio booster because people were compliant and people got the polio vaccine in large numbers when it first became available. So it almost essentially eradicated polio as a disease. So you haven't had to get a booster. But the problem with this one is it's spreading very quickly, and there's a lot of people who aren't getting the booster. So it's having different variants, which means that we have to get the booster to try and keep it in place. So essentially that's what's happening. So when you say if you talk to a real doctor, I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Well, a real virologist like Dr. Byron Brill from a renowned university here in Canada, which speaks against everything that everybody else has been, politicians, mind you, have been mandating, because we haven't heard from any actual doctors. All these people that we've been hearing from are paid politicians, including the health minister, the chief medical of health, all of them. Right,
but we've heard from a lot of medical experts. I can think of a couple here in Toronto. Dr. David Fissman, who used to be on the panel for vaccines in Toronto. And I've said this to a previous caller who wanted to argue about, well, there's this one doctor who says that this is all wrong. there's something to be said for consensus. So if there's, say, 1,000 doctors and 999 of them give a certain advice and they have a certain feeling, I can't understand why people would be like, well, I don't know about them. Let's listen to this one guy. I've used the analogy where it's like back in the 70s when cigarettes were around, you know, if you had 1,000 or say 1,000,000 doctors saying, well, smoking is bad, and then you had this one other guy saying, well, you know, it's not really a bad thing. Why would people listen to the one guy when the medical consensus is that smoking is bad? Mark?
All I can say is follow the money. If you read between the lines, you'll see whoever's speaking about. Look, I'm not pro-vaccine or I'm not anti-vaccine. Okay, it's not a matter of. It's a matter of choice and a matter of why was I okay to travel through Canada on an airplane in August, and now I'm not anymore if I'm not vaccinated? Where's the science with that, Josh? Can you provide that, or is it just coercion?
Well, I think in terms of
I think the latter.
In terms of the vaccine mandate for airlines, I think they've realized that the more people who are vaccinated, the safer the general population will be. So I'm assuming here that you didn't get vaccinated. Am I correct?
No, because that's my choice, and I've been completely healthy, and my way of living is by choice and by being healthy in other ways, taking care of my body and my mind. Not with an injection pushed upon me. Okay, well, I think that's certainly a factor. Is people taking care of their health generally, but I don't know that we'll find common ground on the vaccine, and I think people do have the freedom to make that choice, but they also have to have the consequences of making that choice. So I think we'll have to agree to disagree, but. You mentioned this radio station, and as in terms of listening to the station here, I'm a bit of an outlier. Like if you wait a half hour, or if you tune in a half hour before the show, you'll have lots of the opposite. So I'm a tiny part of the radio station that is pro-vax. Most of it's anti-vax. So don't go away. And I want to say I really appreciate you calling. I enjoy having the conversation. You know what, Josh? I really appreciate you listening to my side of things, because other radio stations would have cut me off 10 minutes ago. But thanks, and hopefully I'll come to a better place in the short future. Excellent. Well, I like having a civil discussion. You know, you weren't ranting and crazy. We were just having a chat. Thanks, Josh. Have a great weekend. Have a great weekend and a great holiday if we don't chat again. Thanks again. All the best on your trip. Bye-bye. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye. There you go. See, we can have those conversations without it getting out of hand. And yeah, I don't think we were going to agree on vax or no vax, but it's at least hearing the other side and getting the conversation out there. It is Josh Holiday Live, and if you want to be a caller on the show, whatever your opinion may be, you can always call us at 647-6-YO-JOSH. And even if you're hearing this show when we're not live, we're live between 3 and 4 on Friday afternoons, but the show does get repeated, and you may be listening as a podcast as well. You can get it as a podcast if you go to SAUGA960am.ca. We always appreciate your calls and your communication, and we'll have more chat in just a minute.
Josh Holiday Live is in your ear. You got something to say? Call 647-6-YO-JOSH now. On Twitter at Josh Holiday, and visit joshholidaylive.com.
Yep, we're back. SAUGA960.
Can't explain all the
Josh Holiday here with you. And Shane, how are you, my friend? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm doing okay, John. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. You're in your car? You're driving home?
Yeah, I was just calling about your comments on the vaccine.
Okay.
Yeah, I was. You sound like a pretty intelligent person. You're well spoken. and you present yourself very well. But I did have to take some offense to you saying that people who are not vaccinated aren't very smart. I don't think that is.
Sorry, your phone is not great. I guess I maybe I'm a little divisive that way. I think I get more frustrated with the people who are actively anti-vax who protest and go out of their way to post misinformation. But I think if it's just a choice you've made, I don't agree with it, but I don't want to, make you think you're stupid. You didn't get a vaccine?
In this province, probably 20% of the population is not vaccinated, so that's about 3 million people. Mm-hmm. And to say not very smart people is pretty harsh. I'm pretty sure there are probably some very intelligent people in that group who have very good reasons for not getting vaccinated, whatever they are.
I certainly think there's definitely people, and it's funny. It's one of these things where it is heavily kind of people on the right and people who are in the alternative facts universe, but there's also a large contingent on the left of these sort of almost the hippie types who are already sort of anti-vax with their kids. So let me try and understand you. What you didn't get the vaccine, I'm guessing.
What's that?
I'm guessing you didn't get the vaccine. Am I correct there?
Well, I appreciate your question, Josh, but my vaccine status is between me and my doctor.
Okay,
nobody else.
Fair enough. And so, what did your doctor? Did you actually talk to your doctor about the vaccine?
I have.
And he made a recommendation that you followed, correct?
Well, my doctor is in the camp that, he's under the thumb of the hospital and the government and the media, and he has to pretty much do what he's told to do, or he is threatened with losing his license. He's under a lot of pressure to follow the narrative that is being pushed by the government and, the hospital that he works for. Doctors in his hospital suspended.
Okay, so just let me ask the question here. So, is this something that he's telling you, that he's giving you a wink and a nod, saying, "Yeah, I kind of have to tell you to get the vaccine, but what in the reality they're forcing me to do this," or are you just sort of making this assumption because he maybe did recommend the vaccine?
Sorry, I didn't quite follow what you're saying.
So
breaking up.
Okay, yeah, I know the phone connection is not great, but you were saying that your doctor is facing a lot of pressure from the hospital, and the reason he's sort of recommending the vaccine is because of pressure. But is that something that he sort of communicated to you with a kind of a nod and a wink, or he recommended the vaccine and you're assuming it's because he's been pressured?
Yeah, no, good question. No, he's indicated to me that he has been told to follow the line by the College of Surgeons, and that if he doesn't follow the line, if he doesn't do what he's told by the hospital, he's actually employed by the hospital, which most doctors in Ontario are, and the hospitals are pushing what the government is telling them because the hospitals are funded by the government. Mm-hmm. So, it starts at the top, and there's a lot of information that has to be, that would hopefully be communicated to the population that they're not getting about the vaccine, the adverse events that are associated with the vaccine. There's a lot of people have concerns about that, and they're legitimate concerns. And unfortunately, the media and the government and hospitals and the doctors and people out there have been coerced, and they have been, pushed into getting. It's not really a vaccine; it's actually a gene therapy that is untested, it's unproven.
Whoops, sorry.
The long-term effects and the short and the medium-term effects of the gene therapy are unproven. Okay,
I'm gonna have to end it there, but again, I don't think I'm going to change your mind, and you're certainly not gonna change my mind. But I just sort of can't get my head around like I don't know what the end purpose would be for the hospitals to be pushing this. It's not, if you've talked to any medical experts, it's not a gene therapy, and felt a little bit like we were getting into some conspiracy theory territory there. But again, I go back to the medical consensus where if the majority of the experts in this specific field, the broad, like 99.9% of the experts in this field say something, then I value their opinion more than this one person who's like, well, I don't know about that. And no, it's not gene therapy. It's mRNA, and it's hardly in your system for very long. And it's not going to change the way you feel. And certainly, yes, there are sometimes side effects. The latest one that's been talked about is myocarditis, especially for younger people, younger men especially. But if you weigh the risk of myocarditis from getting a vaccine and the chances of getting myocarditis and a lot of other adverse effects from COVID, the choice is clear, especially when you consider the potential long-term effects of getting COVID. I know that Shane mentioned the long-term effects of having the vaccine, but I think I'd be more worried about the long-term effects of getting COVID. So I don't know if there's any common ground there, but I do appreciate the calls, and I always like when people call up and have a chat. Let's talk a little bit of Christmas stuff. Take things on a lighter route here. There's a lot of weird Christmas traditions from around the world. Here, I mean, we've grown up knowing what happens here, and Santa comes down the chimney and give them treats and stuff like that. In Norway, Norwegians hide their brooms on Christmas Eve so no mischievous witches can steal them and fly off into the winter night to do witch stuff. In Japan, this is a weird one. I'm almost baffled by it. In Japan, eating Kentucky Fried Chicken on December 25th is a tradition. Apparently, the company does 5% of its annual business in Japan on Christmas Day. That's an odd one. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't. When I think of Japan, I don't even think of Kentucky Fried Chicken even existing there, but I guess that's a thing. In Sweden, the country watches a televised message from Donald Duck at 3 p.m. on Christmas Eve, and then they watch a collection of Disney cartoons from the 30s, 40s, and 50s. In Austria, they have Krampus. My nephews are very familiar with Krampus, the hairy horned beast who beats naughty children with sticks while Santa gives the faithful presents and sweet treats. Good old Krampus. And in Iceland, another kind of creepy one, Christmas is ruled by Jólatókanin, the Yule Cat. It's a gigantic black cat that roams the countryside, devouring anyone who isn't wearing any new clothing. It's like a consumerism cat. You must buy new clothes or this cat will eat you. We mentioned it is in our last show, we talked about it being end of the year. There's all kinds of end of the year lists and most this and most that of 2021. And this one is the most mispronounced words of 2021. Cheugy. That's spelled like Cheugy, used to denote tragically unhip millennial trends. It's pronounced cheugy. The famous Mexican, it's not the famous American fast food restaurant that makes Mexican style food, Chipotle. Squid Game made a popular snack treat more popular It's little cookies. It's pronounced Talgona. Talgona. And DOGECOIN, the cryptocurrency is Dogecoin. Billie Eilish, that's how you pronounce that. Another crypto one is Ethereum. People have mispronounced that. A lot of politicians have mispronounced the name of this Scottish city, Glasgow. So it's a Z sound, Glasgow, not Glasgow. And time of the one here, it's Omicron or Omicron. You can use either. I know some people are making it an Omnicron. So those are some of the words. We're going to talk about skills that you may or may not have been able to master. Basic skills that a lot of the population can do, but you just can't seem to do. One that I can't, I have a lot of trouble doing. I'm trying to do it now, and it's not working very well. I can't snap my fingers. I've tried forever, and it just doesn't happen. So I'm going to take your calls on things that maybe you can't do that everyone else can do.
Talk that rocks. It's Josh Holiday Live.
Crazy in love with Josh.
In middle school, he got a boner during a clarinet recital.
You need to be heard? Tell your phone to call 647-6YO-JOSH.
When you wake up in the morning,
I love that song. Cheap sunglasses. It's key. If you're always losing your sunglasses, don't buy expensive ones. I think that's my favorite ZZ Top song. It is Josh Holiday Live. Available to you via telephone 647-6YO-JOSH, which is 647-696-5674. Came across a list of skills that some people have, some people don't have, that seem pretty basic. Two of the ones on the list here I have issues with. Snapping my fingers, I honestly, I can't. I don't know what it is, what I do wrong. I don't know if I'm not putting enough tension. I don't know. But I can whistle with my teeth, or just regular. And I'm also terrible at remembering people's names, and it frustrates me because I know it's an incredible social skill and networking skill to have is to remember people's faces and names and be able to put the two together. But a lot of times when I get introduced, I'm just so like, oh, hi, how are you? And I don't, my memory thing doesn't click in to say, okay, remember this person's name is this. And experts say, try and use things to help you remember. Like, oh, if you meet a guy named Greg, think of leg and maybe picture him with a leg in his head or something, stuff like that. But it doesn't work. And also, I think there's a legitimate mental or brain disease where people have trouble recognizing faces. Like the extreme examples are this father's with his family at the beach. He goes to get some ice cream. He comes back and he doesn't recognize them because their faces don't compute to him. He has that issue. I'm not nearly that bad, but I certainly have issues recognizing people out of context. So I'll know someone from a work event or from hockey, and then I'll see them at some place I would never necessarily expect to see them, and I'll sort of recognize that I know them, but I really, really struggle with how I know them, where I know them from, what the name is. And sometimes it's good if you have a friend there, because if you have a friend with you and you know your friend's name, you can say, "Oh, have you met my friend Jean?" And then they introduce each other to each other's selves. my mouth isn't working properly. Yes. So it is Josh Holiday Live. This I thought was kind of sad, but I can definitely relate. For a lot of people getting older, they did a survey in Britain, and according to the survey, people over the age of 65 in the United Kingdom, more than 1 in 5 will have a conversation with no one in an entire week. Maybe just 3 people. And I can identify with that because I, for a long time, have lived solo. And before I got my dog, there would be days where I wouldn't speak at all because I would have no necessity to. I'd be doing my own thing. Maybe I'd say, may please have a large coffee or something like that. But I almost felt like it was affecting my voice. Having spoken so little, my voice was out of shape. My vocal cords were going bad. But yeah, it's quite sad. I was going to do this last week, and I thought, let's try it this week. We're going to do some trivia. You and I together. Something I call bragging rights.
It's sweeping the nation. It's a gaming sensation. And oh, it has the greatest prize.
What prize? Sure.
It's absolutely useless. It's absolutely pointless. It's that game that we call bragging rights.
Yes, it's a game show we call bragging rights because you don't win any prizes. The only prize you win is the ability to brag to your friends that you're smart. So you and I are going to take this. It's the Slate end of week news quiz, and we'll play it together. Question number 1: House lawmakers voted Tuesday to hold which former White House staff member in contempt of Congress? Mac McLarty, John Kelly, Andrew Card, or Mark Meadows? I'm going to say Mark Meadows. Correct. Okay, question number 2. Who was ordered by New York's Joint Commission on Public Ethics on Tuesday to return $5.1 million he received for his 2020 pandemic memoir? Andrew Young, Andrew Yang, Andrew Cuomo, or Andrew Gillum? I will say Andrew Cuomo. There we go. Okay, next. Question number 3. Which longtime Fox News anchor announced Sunday he's leaving the cable news channel after 18 years? Geraldo Rivera, Brett Baer, Greg Gutfield, or Chris Wallace? It is Chris Wallace, I know that. He's going to do a CNN streaming service, from what I understand. Okay, next question. There we go. Keechant Sewell was selected to become the first black female leader of which organization? U.S. Naval Academy, American Ballet Theater, NYPD, or NASDAQ stock market? I want to say NYPD because I feel like recently I've seen a news story about a female black lady taking over a police force. Let's see what that is. Oh, yeah. Correct. Okay, next question. Which senator cursed at a reporter when asked about his efforts to cut the child tax credit from the Build Back Better Act? John Kennedy, Joe Manchin, Ted Cruz, or Rick Scott? It's got to be Joe Manchin. He's the holdout, and he's a stubborn man who gets very defensive, and I can see him getting angry like that. Question number 6. The USS Portland successfully tested a new high-energy laser weapon on Tuesday, destroying a training target in which body of water? Gulf of Aden, Beaufort Sea, Lake Erie, or the Firth of Clyde? I am going to say it's one of the Gulf of Aden or Beaufort Sea. I'm going to go Beaufort. It's Gulf of Aden. Question number 7. Which former Olympic champion has been tapped by President Joe Biden as the American ambassador to Belize? Caitlyn Jenner, Michelle Kwan, Dan Gable, or Chloe Kim? This one I know it's Michelle Kwan. Next question. Which feminist writer who died this week at age 69 used her great-grandmother's name as a pen name and styled it all lowercase? Audre Lorde, Judith Butler, Bell Hooks, or Anna Castillo? I have no idea, but I'm going to guess, because it's a weird name, Bell Hooks. Yes, sir. Hooks was born Gloria Jean Watkins in 1952 in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. All right. Which driver claimed his first Formula One World Championship by overtaking rival Lewis Hamilton on the final lap of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix? Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, Valtteri Bottas, or Fernando Alonso? I think it's the Max Verstappen because I know it was controversial. Let's try. Yes. First Dutch champion in the sport's 71-year history. It's amazing. It's interesting how F1 is become much more popular in the last couple of years. And I think a lot of people are attributing it to the All or Nothing series on Amazon Prime. They did All or Nothing for the Leafs, but I don't think it did much. But F1, I think a lot of people, after having watched the series on Amazon, have picked up that F1 craze. Okay, next question. Which dating app was fined $7 million in Norway for sharing data without user consent? Zoosk, Scruff, Grindr, or Planet Romeo? I only know, those ones don't even sound like real ones. I'm going to say Zoosk. Grindr. Grindr. All right. Next question. Kraft set up a special website offering $20 to customers due to the shortage of which of its products? Stuffing, Parmesan cheese, A1 sauce, or cream cheese? I'm definitely going to say cream cheese here. Yes, supply chain issues and overwhelming demand for Kraft cream cheese means that many are going to have to forego cheesecake over the holidays. And I know bagel shops are suffering immensely from the cream cheese shortage. Okay, final question here. Which drug maker announced, following recent lab studies, that its coronavirus pill should prove effective against the Omicron variant? Novartis, Pfizer, Moderna, or Johnson & Johnson? I believe I know this one. I think it's Pfizer. And ding! And let's see our results. Boom. We did pretty well. 10 out of 12. That's not bad. All right. It is Josh Holiday Live. We are winding down here. If you want to get in touch, if you're hearing the show, you can leave a message at 6476-YO-JOSH. We may play your voicemail on shows down the line. You can also text that number, and you'll get an alert when the phone lines reopen again, usually Fridays at 3. And if you want to get the rest of the socials, go to SAUGA960am.ca under Josh Holiday Live, and you can find everything there. Next week, a very special Christmas episode. See you then.
Turn on the lights, open the shades.
The show's over, but the conversation continues. On Twitter at Josh Holiday, on the web at joshholidaylive.com, and hear missed episodes on your favorite podcatcher. Talk that rocks. Josh Holiday Live.